Hey everybody, how you guys doing?
We
We're
are
doing good.
alive, and I think we are. Anyway, we're here. I'm still
Yeah,
trying to cook dinner, and I'll be in and out. But Eileen, I think, is going to actually be on a little bit later. She went to go see her daddy. They lifted restrictions at the VA, so she was able to go see her daddy. So we'll forgive her this time, maybe.
Hope her daddy's okay.
Yeah, he's good. Jeremy,
Good.
thank you.
thanks, Jeremy.
I can post it on my timeline because the one that is said is on, I can't share. It's just send. So I can't do much with it.
Well, anyways, though, I mean, for those who are tuning in, of course, welcome to another episode of Supernatural Talk. Tonight, well, first off, you just heard about what's going on with Eileen, but tonight we have two guests. Obviously, we have, and I do apologize, but I have trouble sometimes with last names. So, Craig, how do you say your last name?
Parents.
Ahrens. Okay, and David, what's
Espinosa.
Espinosa? Well, it's good to have you guys on.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and I think it was about a year ago that I think we actually spoke to you guys on a different show prior. So if you guys remember that, so it's good to see you guys again.
Well, thanks.
So I thought Adrian was going to say something. I didn't realize she had her mic on mute.
You take care of, get him
She's chasing ghosts.
This house, you do. It was built in 1908, and this is actually my husband's family home. And I had a bunch of mediums, of course, I'm in the field. So I had a bunch of mediums at our wedding, and they're like, you understand that you have a whole bunch of, thank you. I told you it wasn't missing. They're like, you understand you have a whole bunch of people here that aren't alive? I said, yeah, I do. I just don't have time to mess with them right now because we're getting married. So I'm not feeling any of this. And they're like, yep. So we set cameras up in the hallways up here. It's actually really awesome. Jennifer's on.
Yeah.
So Jennifer came down and done some readings for my family down here, and was touched a few times. And this basement's just like really, I don't know why it's active, but it is. They every morning when he comes down, he's like, I hear whispering. I'm like, I'm not surprised. Whatever's going on, have fun with it, because they're down here with you. Not my problem.
Oh,
environments doesn't really matter whether it's a structure or it's a geological environment.
Yep.
It can contain those spirits that dwelled there for whatever reason and are supposed to be there.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both here.
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Guys, really quickly, because I see Greg just messaged in the private chat. He's having issues on his end. No sound, and the frame keeps freezing.
Oh, go out and come back in.
Yeah. Go out and come back in, and then, yeah. Hopefully that will work.
It looks like it's working right now.
It looks like on our side, but it might not be working on his side.
Can you hear me, Craig?
Yep. You see, he's probably going to. Yeah, he's probably going to do that.
Craig's not the one that was supposed to leave.
He did a snagglepuss on us.
He doesn't listen to directions very well, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's fun to work with.
He's awesome. Yeah, I've never actually talked to him like in person, but anytime that I've ever, gotten to comment or anything, he always comments back. He's always been very personable. He doesn't act like he's above anybody.
No,
he doesn't. He's also shared a few recommendations in regards to, I think it's something on film. So I always appreciate when he reaches out. Up here he is. Yeah, here he comes.
Okay, now we can't talk good about him anymore.
Can you hear us now?
Good. You there, Craig?
There we go.
I
Yeah,
can't
there we
hear
go.
a damn thing.
Oh, still can't. I mean, we could see you, and we can hear you too, but I don't know what's.
Can't hear us?
Can he?
You can hear.
I mean, we can hear his side, but he somehow can't hear us.
Yeah. Nick, David, and Craig. Hi, Jerry. Greg. How you
What's up,
doing, bud?
Greg? Good to see you.
Hey, hello.
There we go. I haven't seen you in a while, Greg. How are you?
Oh, wait, he just sent another message. He's having major issues, he says. Okay.
A
See,
lot of times it's just shut down and restart.
I'll just tell him, try to restart your, shut down your phone and restart it.
Oh, is he on a phone?
Yeah, he's using a phone.
Okay.
Oh, wait, he might not be able to see as many of the messages because, see, this is
Can't.
why whenever I use StreamYard, I always prefer using a computer.
Yeah.
I can't see messages either when I'm on my phone. I don't even try. Does he have a laptop with I don't think I think he was on his phone.
He was on his phone. He does have a laptop with a camera, but he was on the wrong search engines. I told him to go to Google Chrome, and that we're very compatible with StreamYard. So
Right.
let's see if he does that.
See, when I'm actually using, well, another good platform that's compatible too with StreamYard is Microsoft Edge. That's actually what I'm using right now.
Right on.
Jeremy made a comment. We had an actress. We had two actresses from
Yeah,
movies
I
on the
remember
show.
that.
Who was the actresses? I guess I missed all this.
It was, oh man, I remember.
Sophia Sparks?
Yeah, it was like, I remember it was two actresses. I could remember their faces, but I cannot remember their names.
Dark hair?
Yeah, they both had like dark hair, I think.
Yeah, it was Sophia Sparks, and shame on me. I cast her.
Yep, that's them. That's who they were.
Okay.
That poster is that evil across the street.
The evil down the street. Actually, yes, the one on the wall is the one over this way is Demon Fighter.
Oh, nice.
And then there's a couple other ones underneath that and stuff all over the place. My office is a mess.
The Evil Down the Street was just awesome.
Oh,
You know, I still haven't even seen that, and I had this planned originally, but I still haven't forgotten watching it yet.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
It's just
make.
just I've been involved with a lot of projects, and you know how sometimes it gets stuck in your schedule. But you know, like I said, I haven't forgotten. What's up, Tom? Good to see you. Back and look. What's up, Carl?
And look at Carl. He made it.
Yeah. See, I got a feeling right now Craig's probably switching over to a different platform. That's why he hasn't come back in yet.
Yeah. I'm sure he knows all the ins and outs of all that.
Well, he's certainly finding out.
Yeah, I'm usually the one with the issues.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm terrible with computers and all that crap. I tell them just tell them to send me a link that I just got to press on and I'm good to go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we run Reverend Sean Whittington's show on Mondays and Fridays.
Cool.
And if anything can happen, it does. It just does.
Yeah, that's kind of like shooting a film.
Yep.
Yeah, it very much is.
Yeah,
If
be
it can
prepared
happen,
for everything you
so
think might happen, and then for everything that you're not even sure about. And how
you
do
know,
do
I
that?
think sometimes that's the best part of it because you get things that were not scripted. So it's like, we're going to use this because this is kind of cool.
Well, that happens. As a matter of fact, in Shooting the Evil Down the Street, there's a scene inside the library near the middle of. Oh, there he is.
Okay, this looks like it's from a different camera.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay, okay. It's no big deal. We always have technical
No.
issues.
You know,
Let's
I'll just
flog him. Let's flog him later. I'm for flogging. Okay.
You know, I find it. I think I speak for David too.
Yes, flogging.
It's easier to make feature films than to navigate through some of this stuff. Anyhow,
Oh yeah.
enough
Yeah, I
said.
bet it is. I really believe that.
Yeah.
Getting ready for our new show, Haunted Vortex. Guest teller stories.
I didn't hear
Oh,
about
that's
this.
cool,
That's
Carl.
new. That's really cool.
Alex, Brad, I swear I will hurt you. I will hurt you.
You know what? I actually originally messaged him earlier tonight and asked if he wanted to co-host with us, but sadly, he's at work right now. So
Sadly, my behind.
well, no. I was gonna say
desk.
no. What I was gonna say was sadly for the Alexa, he's working tonight.
What? I'm gonna hurt you too. They like to holler that name because it's sitting here on the desk and they get it to do some strange stuff during the shows.
No, it's not me that does it. It's Brad who does. That's
Yeah, it's Brad, but yeah. Nobody else has a problem joining in.
I never do.
I think the last time we did this, I think we ended up making a list secretly, a shopping list with some very, very nasty things on it the next day.
Okay.
What's up, Anita?
Are you changing the format of the program?
No.
Okay.
No. It can take some strange twists no matter what we do.
Well, interestingly enough, we have a film out right now, a comedy called Love and Quarantine, and we like the film. We think it's impacting on a lot of levels. Well, it originally got rejected from this one platform that we were looking to get it on, and it was because of it being too risque. We couldn't figure out where. They said, well, smoking marijuana. Well, that wasn't it. The title itself, Love and Quarantine. Well, that wasn't it. And then they said it was a shot of her rear end. She falls over wearing a thing. Well, it's her nightgown, and we see her panties, right? And she's bent over, right? Boom. And then they said, no, that isn't it. And the weird thing about it, they were censoring our stuff, and they couldn't explain why they were censoring it.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they finally said, "Oh, okay, we'll show it." We're like, "What the hell?"
I tell you what, there was a show not long ago, and it was a Facebook show. It wasn't like it went anywhere other than right here, but they were talking about making. Let's see, how do we put this nicely? They were making molds.
Oh,
out of women's genitals. We'll put it that way.
What?
And
what?
it was all over the air. It had no issues. It went out there.
That is just hideous.
It
I mean,
happened
how does somebody even think that crap up?
Yeah.
because the person who did it was very demented. And,
I'd be ashamed to tell somebody I thought that.
Yeah.
oh no, not this person. I was on a show with him for a while, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
tried to push the limits to see how far we could go before we got banned. Never got banned, ever.
Incredible.
Wow.
If that was me, I would have just edited it there and get the hell out of there immediately.
Well, I
Yeah.
tried to keep the block button, click, block, whatever, mute. No, nobody give me the mute button.
That's what we couldn't understand, because we had another film, which is also a new release, and that film, Demon Fighter, has more violence associated with smoking pot and more extreme sexual scenes and drug use scenes than Love and Quarantine, and they had no problem with that film.
Yeah.
I'm in
None
Colorado.
whatsoever.
You walk outside and you're going to smell it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's legal as it can be. You
Oh
can,
yeah, I don't have any problems with that. I don't. Yeah, I'd rather they smoking that than smoking tobacco or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
man.
Oh yeah.
Some other crap,
I have recently, I haven't smoked a cigarette in a month, and it's
Good for you.
32 years that I smoked.
Oh, wow.
And I was actually on this show, and I'm like, guys, as soon as I get off here, we're going to the hospital. So,
I
if
remember that.
something hurts, I can't breathe. And I thought it was just like I cracked a rib or something, and got there and they're like, you have a blood clot, like more than one.
Oh my
And
God.
it's
Yeah.
killed the bottom part of your lungs. So how long has this been going on? Like 3 days.
Oh,
So
Oh my
it's like,
gosh.
you know what? Yeah, let's try to quit that.
See,
Well, I'm glad you did.
I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough myself, especially at my age, because unlike most people who always will around my age, see, I'm 29 years old, and I have never once smoked a cigarette.
Good for you.
that's
Yeah.
great, Nick.
Don't.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Never have, never will. And you know what? As crazy as it's going to sound, I can't even smoke, marijuana because not necessarily that it's dangerous. It's because I don't know if I told you guys last time, but I'm actually on the autism spectrum, and for people who have disabilities, it's not a dangerous or lethal effect, but it does have a different effect on me.
Sure.
In other words, it just doesn't mix for real. I mean, if it was medicinal, that'd be one thing, but just like casually, it just doesn't
probably
mix anyway.
accentuates everything that's going on relative to
Exactly. So I haven't touched any of that stuff. And
Yeah,
never will.
our boy, before we got him, he's our foster child. Before we got him, I guess his family allowed it, and it actually calmed him down. It did wonders for him. I'm not going to allow that.
it helps certain people, and if it wasn't something that had positive effects in a number of ways,
Mhm.
not just medicinally, of course, but industrially, etc.
Right.
I mean, that's why it was taken off the market, because it had such extreme value, and you could turn crops every 4 years.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, you wouldn't be tearing down these trees for paper. You wouldn't be.
Right.
I mean, clothing, so many different products you could make from it. It's incredible, the plant. And you understand the history why it was taken down, of course, because of Randolph Hearst, his newspaper, the tobacco industry trying to sell their poison, get people strung out on something that has to be grown in a very limited environment. Let's create the value, as opposed to something that can grow anywhere all the time.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to go take my enchiladas out of the oven, but since I already know this stuff, I need David Craig. Tell us about the latest thing and tell us all the ones you have done so that we can all look them up. Nick, if you wouldn't mind putting it in the chat so everybody can see the names and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thanks, Adrian.
You're welcome.
Well, the first film that David and I produced was Evil Down the Street. And what was interesting when David and I first met, which, David, what is that now? Over 5 years ago.
5 years, yeah.
About 5 years ago, that we had not ever met actually in person until the day before we started shooting.
Oh, really? Okay.
All pre-production planning, everything we did was over the phone. I lived in the Sacramento area, and he lives down in Southern California, Orange County area. So it was kind of strange upon first meeting each other, because I'm like 5'8", right? He's like 6'5". It was really kind of weird, right? Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. How you? But it was really exciting. I myself I hadn't thought about what we had just did until we had done it and we started shooting the film, and then it occurred to me, we planned this whole film over the phone.
Really? Wow. That's pretty impressive.
I felt good about it. Well, thanks to Craig, we were able to get the film marketed pretty quickly. Prior to even having the script complete, we knew we were going to do something, and he started making communications with all kinds of different groups and film distributors, etc., going to the markets. And we started talking to people and vetting all these different companies, and we put together a business plan and presented our business plan. And next thing you know, we were shooting the film. We're very excited about it. It just kind of happened. I can't even explain the dynamics behind how it happened. And that comes for even getting the money.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird. But here we are, 4 films later. And we shot the other 3 films. Craig, tell me about those.
Yeah. After we did Evil Down the Street, which was kind of interesting that some of the experiences we had in the middle of shooting that film. But after we shot Evil Down the Street, we shot The Crumbs up in David's neck of the woods, Northern California, Placerville.
Hangtown. Yeah.
What's that, David?
Hangtown.
Hangtown. Thank you. Hangtown. And then from there, we shot Demon Fighter. And it was interesting on Demon Fighter, the last day of the shoot is when David came up with the idea of Love and Quarantine, which is a film we just recently released as well. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting stuff. Yeah, so I thought there was a question that came into mind. I think this was from Jeremy. He asked, "So, what does it take to be a producer?" I don't know if that's supposed to be a serious question or not, but I thought I'd put it up anyway, just to be on the safe side.
Well, I think like what David said, Jeremy, when it comes to producing everything that you see in a feature film, that's what David and I do from beginning to end. David, yeah, okay.
It is a serious one. Okay.
David spends a ton of time in pre-production. You want to, and that's the first leg of it. You want to touch on that, David?
Sure.
Please.
Especially in pre-production planning for as a producer, the primary goal, of course, is to not only obtain the money, but to obtain and facilitate the film. Are you having a named actor, a named director? I mean, what is it about this film that is sellable? What's its sellable item? It's one key point. That's rather important if you're working at that level. And with that, you put together a business plan. You show what the costs are going to be. The costs always are rounded out to the outside, being as realistic as possible, but round out to the outside and present that to different people. This is what we're doing. This is what we want to make. This is why we think it will make money. That's what we did with The Evil Down the Street. And we took it to people that had money, and they said, wow, we think this is a great idea. Whether they liked the film or not was the interesting part.
Mm-hmm.
They really, what I think, and I feel confident saying this, is they liked Craig and I. They liked the fact of our background complementing each other. We both have strong backgrounds in a variety of areas, as well as films, etc. And as a result, we approach it in a business-like manner. So putting together a business plan, these people see how it's going to work and why. And when we did the horror film, it was kind of unique because I love horror films, but I never thought of myself as doing horror films.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just never occurred to me about, I'll make a horror film. I don't know, but here we were. And I realized that it was a bit of a blessing that fell in our lap, because horror films, the nature of the genre itself lends itself to a broad audience who, it's not that they're not particular, it's that they're forgiving, they're understanding, they're accepting. They don't care if it's somebody they ever heard of, director, actor, whatever. They look at the cover, the poster, they get the theme, the general plot idea, and yes, I'm watching it. No, I'm not. It's as simple as that. And I'm not reducing their choices to, simplicity. What I'm saying is that they are faithful as all get out in the genre. The horror audience is one of the most faithful audiences that's out there.
Yeah.
So by the time our film was ready to be distributed, Craig had already got us involved in, 100, 200 different groups we now belong to some incredible amount. Like I'm talking like 2,000, some different groups that we belong to.
I know
And
you're in 5 of mine.
you know, I'm like, let's spread the word. You know, people want to see them, we want to make them, but without an audience, we're for naught.
Mm-hmm.
And without us, the audience has nothing to do. So we have this symbiotic relationship. We just need to make sure that we're all in the same pool, fishing for the same thing.
And honestly, in this field, it's like you have one that's all it takes is one that knows a few people that's willing to say, you know what, this is great. And people start watching it. We actually have, I just saw Jan on. She's actually one of my best friends and lives in New Mexico. And we've been talking to a couple of producers that I just don't trust.
Hey, I'm telling you, it's a really unscrupulous business at times. Everybody's out for themselves, and I'm just being straight up about it. From the actors to everybody else, the technicians are probably the truest ones.
Yeah,
and the crew, because they actually are working towards perfecting something artistic right there.
Right, and that, you know, and it depends on what you're doing. You know, if like what the one we're talking about doing a film on it's in New Mexico, and there is so much Indian land. There's so much sightings of you know, skinwalkers or you know, and people. I don't know if they're high. I don't know if they actually. I don't know what's going on, but they're seeing it. And I have had people come to me. I lived there for 10 years, and Jan and I went different places, and Jan actually lives right down the road from a mountain that's never been messed with at all. And we have different places. Jan, tell me the 2 places, the restaurant and the motel. I can't think of the names, but everybody's on board to let us go investigate, you know, document, make a show out of it. And the 2 we've talked to, it's like, no, because they're wanting this fake stuff, and that's just not our thing. That's
right.
You know, it either happens or it doesn't, and faking it is just not going to happen.
Chances Double Eagle.
Double Eagle, yes, that's in Santa Fe. Is that right?
I don't know.
No,
I'm sure she would know.
No, hell no.
See, the difference between what you do and what we do is really simple. You look for the truth in the esoteric, in the metaphysical.
Mm-hmm.
We try to express that same truth,
right,
in the esoteric and the metaphysical.
And you know, that's the where you mesh with the person that's producing it for you, because it's like, you know, if they understand what you're trying to get across and not trying to put something in there that isn't like, oh yeah, this person died while we were out there doing it. What? No. And that's the stuff we've gotten. It's like, no, this person's going to die on the scene while we're out.
What you're saying is that in the middle of the shoot, all of a sudden in the script, they changed things and decided to put something else in.
They did as much as I was so excited to be on TV when I was filming for paranormal haunted hospitals. I was so excited that, you know, I was even asked to do it. So I was like, yeah, I flew out there. I did it. And when I got home, I said, please don't show this. Just please don't. Because they tried to take it a different direction. And while I'm sitting there in the chair, you know, with lights on you here, lights on you back here, you're going, okay, yeah. And you just kind of go that direction with them. And I'm like, no, please don't show this, because this is not what happened. This is not.
Wow.
Just don't. I don't know if they're going to or not, but I asked them, you know, please don't, because this isn't what really happened.
Was this Was that this year or was that like a year or so ago?
It was it's February this year.
Okay. Oh wow.
And it's supposed to come out in 2023. I'm like, please don't.
Is it that you think it's false what they're saying?
Yeah, the direction they took it. I worked at a hospital for 5 years, and we had a lot of paranormal stuff happen. I guess it wasn't really interesting enough as far as what they thought.
So they beefed it up.
They did. They said, well, do you think maybe the janitor was possessed? No.
Which you sometimes see with some of these shows. They always try to beef it up to make it more interesting.
And I'm like, no, he was weird. But they took it that direction, that he was weird and was into stuff. And I'm like, I don't think so. But you're sitting there and you have all these people around you. And you're like, yeah, I guess. So it's like, yeah, that was, I will never do that again. Never.
Well,
what we do is make up stuff.
It's right there. It's like, hey, this is made up. This isn't, somebody tried to tell their story, make it sound like they're lying,
But all 4 of our films are based on things that are actually happening or have happened.
Right.
The Evil Down the Street was based on a family that actually lived. The Crumbs was based on the Bloody Benders. Demon Fighter is based on an occurrence in England with the Starks in the 1500s, late 1500s. And Love and Quarantine is current events.
Yeah.
So we try to keep things, not just socially pertinent and relative, but entertaining. More than anything else, we want to entertain our audience first and foremost.
And that's that balance. That's where it's hard to get that balance between, reality and entertainment. And I think
you don't want to be didactic. You don't want to tell people what to think or how to feel or how to be.
Right.
You may present ideas without conclusions and allow them to stir it around and come up with whatever they come up with.
Yeah.
But we try not to be didactic. We try to just suggest stuff.
Yeah. Now the Evil Down the Street, that was awesome. That I have that poster.
Yeah.
Oh.
I still got to see it still. So again, I keep hearing more about it. I'm hoping that I could try to watch it, before the Halloween season's over. So I do have it on my list. So
where can they see these films, Craig?
Sure. Evil Down the Street. There's several different platforms. A couple of really cool ones, of course, would be, I'm sorry if you can hear that. I don't think you can hear that. My dog is barking.
We're all dogged. We're all
this is live, so here we go. But Evil Down the Street, Tubi TV, which all of our films are on Tubi. We like Tubi a lot. So
I love Tubi.
Tubi TV. It's on Freevee, Freevee. Now Freevee is formerly IMDb TV. And we're also on several channels on YouTube. Indie Rights Movies, which is our distributor, is one of them. And with Evil Down the Street, you can certainly just type in the film, and it'll pop up on YouTube. So those are 3 platforms that David and I like a lot. The Crumbs, also available on Tubi, also available on YouTube. Demon Fighter, the same, Tubi, and also available on YouTube. And Love and Quarantine, Tubi, of course, and soon also available on YouTube. So we'll be sending that out, as soon as it's live and up. But those are the platforms that we've done really well with and are very user friendly.
Awesome. See, I use Tubi TV a lot, so as long as I know that your films are there, that's an easy go for me.
Perfect.
Yeah, and their commercials are real short. Even though they may have 5 or 6, they're like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, bam, bam.
Way better than like what YouTube and some of the other platforms, because sometimes they'll literally go for like 2 minutes with nothing but ads, and it's so annoying. So that's what I love about Tubi. It's just a really good platform.
I agree.
There was, I wanted to bring up a comment earlier from what Jeremy said, because when he asked about what it would take to be a producer, it was a serious question. He said that there is a story, a true story that he plans on writing in book form that he would like to eventually get adapted into a script and made into a movie in the future.
Okay.
Well, the best advice I would give to him, and David, please jump in here as well. You know, like the frustrations that you had, Adrian, with the project you guys have, nobody can tell your story better than you. And once you start bringing in all these other characters, forget about it. It's going to get bastardized. And that's one thing with David and me. The stories that we tell are the stories that we want to tell. Evil Down the Street is a family I had known for years, long before I ever considered being a filmmaker. Thankfully, God introduced me to David, and he took essentially rather an abstract idea. I had a very flimsy script that David, thankfully, David's been in the business for 40 years. So thankfully, he went through the script, and we had something that was, I don't know, let's just say it made some degree of sense. Well, now it made sense, and you can make a movie out of it. So importantly, like to Jeremy's point, okay, you have an idea, write it. Write a page a day, and eventually you'll have your script on paper, a starting place to get it out of your head. And a very user-friendly and free writing platform is writerduet.com. And so start writing your story and be mindful of the expense. Don't have a bunch of stuff that you don't need, because where I'm going with this, and I think, and David, please, man, just jump in if you want to say something.
Well, I was gonna comment on what you were talking about, writing a screenplay versus writing the story, the novel. Writing the novel first. If your ultimate goal is a screenplay, then you're going the long way around.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the point. Find yourself a book on screenwriting. It's much simpler than you realize. The hardest part about screenwriting is the formatting of it. It has a certain look.
Yeah.
That's it. Same thing with plays. Just like poetry, iambic pentameter, or other types of things, novels. They all have certain styles of formatting and the writing process. So get yourself a book on the format of screenwriting, and then without taking it too serious, just start writing and generally space. You don't have to exactly space the way they have it in the screenwriting book, the format, generally space, because they have a program that like we use that, because that's exactly what I'll do. I'll give the work to Craig, and then Craig will take it and put it in its proper format, line it all up, make it look pretty, boom, and that's it. So I would just get to the writing of the screenplay itself and not waste the time.
Mm-hmm.
As far as writing goes, if you've never had any writing courses or understandings of how a screenplay works, here's a real simple idea. Each scene must contain some type of conflict. It doesn't have to be life or death. It could be, what do you want, pizza or tacos? Oh, I'm tired of tacos.
Yeah.
I'm touching pizza. I mean, as simple as that. It could be that simple. But each scene must have some kind of a conflict. And just keep that in mind. Ask yourself, what's the main character want? What's stopping them from getting it? And there you go. Write your ending right away. Write your beginning, write your ending, then work towards it. And I think you'll do it. Check out my 11 years personal research work.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know who this is, but I will say,
either.
well, I'm going to say this. This is our first comment we got from LinkedIn. That's from LinkedIn.
I don't know who it is, but sure, we'll check it out.
And
First
also,
time I've ever
Jeremy,
seen anything like that from LinkedIn.
What's he
Jeremy,
researching?
and also check out Jeremy, what I mentioned, and that's Writer Duet, because that's what we use on our end. It's very user friendly, and like between you, Adrian, you, Nick, you read Writer, WRITER, Duet, DUET.com.
Here, I'll put it in the
If you have any
comments.
problem finding it, Jeremy, when we're done here, I'll just send you the link. but it's free, it's user friendly, and just with the talent of people that you guys have available between, you, Adrian, you, Nick, and let's say another colleague who's not on, you guys go through, and if this be like you guys already said, being honest with each other. If you don't like it, then collaborate and come up with something, and then eventually you're going to have a story like what David said. You're going to have your script, and just figure out how maybe you guys can produce this yourself, and cut out all of these other people. The ones who have the money oftentimes are going to be the ones who want to start calling the shot. You're going to lose, as you just saw in New Mexico, you're going to lose control of it. I don't think you want to do that.
Well, no, but I understand that we don't have all the answers. We don't. There's a way to spin it off to where it's still mostly the truth, but it's more entertaining than sitting there going, "Hey, are you here?
Yeah,
with us." There's a little more to it than that. That's boring. We do put that on our lives so that people do understand. You don't get something everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. So we do it live, and when people see something, we have remote viewers who are on our lives quite a bit, and they might see something, hear something, and we'll go toward that and see if they're right.
Sure.
But 9 out of 12 places, you're not going to get anything. Mm-hmm. And if you do, it's questionable. So we just don't even go there with that.
Yeah, and you can't prepare yourself for when or if or how. We were on set, and we've had things happen out of nowhere that were just totally strange, off the wall, without explanation, and everybody's going, okay. Especially when we were shooting The Evil Down the Street.
Oh yeah.
And it gets a little weird. I mean, we had a makeup artist got so scared she wouldn't come back for a second film.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm doing another horror movie? No.
Thanks,
come on.
Well, David, maybe you want to share the story, what creeped her out, why she didn't want to work with us again. This is pretty harrowing.
We were shooting the scenes of Father Bob. I played Father Bob, and they were putting tattoos on my back, these crucifixes and whatnot on my arms. And we're downstairs in this abandoned place. It's 100 miles up in the high desert. It's an abandoned reform school. Okay, the whole place is empty, supposedly, and we're waiting for the crew to show up. They're at the other location in the basement, closing it up and going to bring all the stuff, lights and crap, so we can shoot these scenes. And we start hearing, like, those old iron doors with the push bars. I said, "Oh, great. Now we got a bunch of funny guys. All right, guys, knock the shit off. Come on. And she goes, "Oh, that's probably just the guys." I go, "It's the guys." And I kept on. She goes, "Tell them to stop." I said, "Stop already." And it wouldn't stop. So I said, "Look, I'm going to go over there." I walked over there. I opened the doors, broad doors, down a long hallway with rooms on both sides. Okay, so I'm flanked by rooms on both sides. I walked down this hallway, and I'm bobbing my head in each room, going, "Hey, anybody in here?" No, I'd been in there before. I knew they were empty. So I didn't have any problem going in there, and nothing. I come back. She starts doing the makeup. It starts again, only louder. She got so scared she couldn't continue with the makeup. Then our crew showed up, and she felt a little better. She finished doing the makeup, etc. But she would not come back to shoot another movie with us. She said she would, and then she just ignored us.
Jeez.
If you aren't in the paranormal field, like going places and doing things, and and the first time you see something or hear something like that, and there is no explanation, a lot of people, you see, I won't mention names anyway, some of the shows, you see, "Come out here and mess with me. I dare you." And then all of a sudden, something happens. "I'm possessed. Oh my God, this thing just come out of me." Did you not ask? And if you did ask, did you not? You're in the wrong field, because you got to be prepared for what's going to happen.
Yeah. Don't ask for what you don't want. I got you.
Yeah.
That's funny stuff.
I mean, yes, it's going to be scary when it happens. It is scary.
Yep.
Oh
It
yeah.
happened to me one time where something was behind me and just slammed, and there was nothing there. I mean, no object, nothing. And the girl that was with me actually worked in that building, and she took off running. And I grabbed her. I said, "You cannot run. Do not run." And she's like, "Okay,
Well,
okay."
fear generates energy, and negative energy builds and concentrates.
Yep.
You
And I'm
gotta
like,
be,
don't do this. Let's walk. It's okay. She goes, "Yeah, I'm still having fun. It's okay."
yeah.
It was bad.
Makes
I can't
sense.
even imagine. I can't even imagine.
That was at the temple, Nick.
Oh wait, okay. I wish you could have told me that at the beginning, but no. Wait, what the hell am I saying? No, I do remember that now. Yeah, that was.
I have that on tape. Yeah.
You had that on tape. I don't know. Okay, well that's something I didn't know that you had on tape, but I do remember when it did happen, though.
That was a little scary. That was my first experience with, oh crap, it's behind me.
Yeah.
And, there was a whistling noise that I got all this on camera. There's a whistling noise, and I'm like, I can't communicate with you. So I'm going to run upstairs and grab some equipment, and I'll be right back. And you could hear the whistling.
Let me ask you a question, if I may.
Sure.
What you obviously like horror movies, or you wouldn't have invited us to begin with, etc. What is it about horror movies you like? Why do you like them?
Because some of it you equate with, well, for us, like, those of us who actually go in places and try to get horror, could it happen? Is okay, if we can walk in somewhere and you can have this happen, let's do it. We're in it we're adrenaline junkies. We're, we're out to find the truth as well. So all these movies, somebody come up with it for a reason. Somebody come up with it because it may not all be true, but it came off of something that was true somewhere. So when we're watching it, we're like, and it depends on the spinoff on it. It's like, that's something to actually investigate. Could this happen this way? The way the movie goes. Could it happen this way? Let's try. Let's find out. So we implement some of the stuff, that from there.
That's interesting, because I like horror movies. Like I said, I never saw myself making them, but like The Exorcist, I liked that movie when it first came out. It scared the hell out of me. I was a grown person already, but it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And yet, when I saw the movie, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it disturbed the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because it was real, or Last House on the Left.
Oh my God.
Those freaks, what they did to the family and what eventually happened to them. Those films disturbed me.
Yeah.
They were hard for me to watch.
Yeah. I was watching the Dahmer series.
Right. I watched it.
I haven't seen that yet still.
They did a good job. I cannot say anything, I had a couple of people tell me that the very end was not quite right, but whatever. They got an actor who looked just like him.
I know.
Mannerisms were just like him. They would show him and then the actor, and it was just like, sometimes you can't even tell them apart.
Yeah, it was a pretty intense series. I watched it as well. The acting was good.
It was. And then, I work for a company that I'm on the phone all day. I work for a company that we distribute all the tuition reimbursement for companies that pay for their employees to go to school. I had a call yesterday, and it was really strange because, we went through what we needed to. And he says, so I live next door to the BTK killer. What? What'd you just say?
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. And he said, you seem friendly, so I thought I'd tell you. So what happened? He goes, well, he quit killing, by the time he was there, and tried to live a normal life. We had no idea he was not normal. He was a normal person when he lived next door to us in Wichita, Kansas. I'm like, So the things you find out just from random people, it's like,
Well,
wow.
I can relate to that because, you guys might, Adrian, I probably told you this before, so you guys might find this hard to believe, but like all this talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, when my mom was going to law school which was in Milwaukee, where she went to back in the late 70s or early 80s, she actually was literally just down the street from where Jeffrey Dahmer was living. And I don't know if this was when he was really starting to go on a killing spree, but it, of course was after his first murder that he committed, but she was just down the street from him. And then also on one other occasion, because we've lived in Chicago all our lives. Now, on one other occasion, I can't remember how she told me this story. At one point, she was also not too far from John Wayne Gacy's house. And then on one final other occasion, she was up in New York. Again, I can't remember what the reason was. And she didn't realize at the time, but she was then not too far from where David Berkowitz was. So it's like she's kind of had a cross with serial, well, not exactly personally, but not too far from where, some of our biggest serial killers were living.
Look at that guy in Stockton they just arrested, in Stockton, California.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Going around shooting all these basically homeless guys, but majority of them Hispanic, 6, 7 people like that. And why?
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't rob them. He didn't take nothing from them. What is that about? How do you wake up and go, okay, I got my gun. I think I'll go start, shooting some people who are walking around late at night.
I actually watched a show about that today, and it was different people. It was all about brain, just the way people's brains function. And this guy did it was an experiment of some sort where he did brain scans of different people. He got his family involved. He got himself involved. And then it was like, there was people who really did have Alzheimer's, did have dementia, did have psychosis, and then others that did not. And so it was like, he didn't know who was who. No names, no nothing. He was going through there and he was like, funny guys, last one. He said, this is funny. This guy's completely nuts. And the psychosis part of his brain, he's got to be a murderer or a serial killer or something. So, yeah, cute. And they were like, that's your brain scan. And he uncovered that name, and it was him. So they were trying to figure out, what causes somebody to become that way, because his brain was the same as Dahmer's, as BTK, as, some of the serial killers that they've actually done brain scans on. So they were deciding that, nature versus nurture, where does that, yes, some of it's hereditary. It might be, but the way you're nurtured might have a play in whether you actually go do it or not.
I think it's a combination of things, and something will trigger. I think there's a predisposition in a lot of people to be violent. We all have that predisposition, especially to protect ourselves or our family from harm. We will become violent in a heartbeat. But to the point where it is a choice because we like it, because it's causing some type of excitement. That's the difference. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah. Who knows?
Scary, very scary. Well, a guy who painted my house years and years ago that I live in, I've been in my house for 35 years. His name is John Molinaro. He had a company called The Maintenance Doctor, painted a lot of homes in my area. Now, I was a single dad for years. As my oldest daughter, she told me, she goes, Dad, I don't know what it is. She goes, but that painter guy, he kind of creeps me out. And I just thought, she's just being overly sensitive, right? Yeah. And so it was maybe a year or two after that, a young lady in our area, Denise Huber, went missing. Long story short, the maintenance doctor ended up moving to Arizona. Okay. And on his property, he had a large freezer that had an extension cord connected to it. Well, one day his neighbor, he had left, and it's kind of a rural area, And she decided, you know what, this just doesn't make any sense. Why is this? So she went over there, and she was able, he didn't keep it locked, opened it, and Denise Huber's body was inside this freezer. Now, yes. Yeah. And so what happened to this girl, a few miles from us, one evening late at night, she had a flat tire. The maintenance doctor pulled up behind her, hit her in the head with her jack, put her in this car, and left for Arizona. So, you know, and it always just triggered me. I mean, he was in our house. I mean, at the time, my older daughter was probably 12-ish, and my younger daughter was, you know, maybe 3 or 4. And so it makes you kind of wonder, like, holy cow, but like, what snaps? I mean, that all of a sudden, that in this moment, you jack up your life. It always just creeped me out. Like, how did that happen? But yeah, true story.
Again, it's something that, you know, it's always hard to process when you see something like that.
Yeah.
Because you know, I mean, like, honestly, the closest thing I could think of, you know, like, for me in such a case, not necessarily with murder or anything. I mean, I've had people who I've known, you know, my age who, you know, unfortunately do turn to, you know, drugs and alcohol, you know, hang out with the wrong crowds. I hate to say it, you know, that's unfortunately kind of a common thing with certain people. But it's, you know, it's one thing if they're getting involved in that stuff, but it's another thing, however, when they're getting involved in more of the extreme cases. And I actually did have someone who was here at my house a couple of years ago. This was someone who I actually met back when I was in high school. He was a really cool guy. We got to be friends. Though the funny thing was, we never actually got to meet in person until I was in my early 20s, because he lived a little bit further away, and this really great kid. And I finally had him over one night, and I, along with a few other friends of mine, you know, we hung out, we played games, you know, we just did the usual stuff. And then 2 or 3 years later, I found out he got arrested. And one of my other friends told me. I was like, well, what did you get arrested for? He's like, you're not going to like it. I was afraid to ask, but it's like, I just needed to know. It wasn't murder that he got involved with. It was police searched his house. Not only did they find drugs, they also found child pornography on his house. So it was horrible. And he later claimed he was going undercover for the police. When first off, he's already been arrested for like drug, you know.
Oh my gosh!
So there was like no way that he could have gone undercover the least bit. And when I saw that, I just felt sick to my stomach, because this was someone I was really good friends with, who I had in my house.
He could have been, simply because if he got in trouble for drugs and he decided to be a snitch.
Oh, okay.
They will go undercover. They will help them go undercover and be mic'd up and lessen their sentence.
Yeah, well, they found this at his house. So this was so kind of like you, Craig, I had that question too for a while. Like, what makes someone go to like such extreme cases like that? I mean, this was not like a case where you think, gee, this guy was just looking for it because, you know, he was interested. There's something more to it than just that.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting thought. Not to add something to the conversation, but this delusional person, is believing something in their mind that's justifying their acts, whatever that is. What's the difference between that and just telling yourself a lie, a repeated lie, and convincing yourself of this lie so much that you start to believe it?
Yeah.
And you start telling other people of that lie, and you start to convince them of the lie. Then they believe it. What's the difference? Is there any?
Not really.
Not really, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and of course, I'm not, speaking politically, of course.
Right.
But you get the idea.
No, I absolutely.
You don't want
to go
there.
Well, you mentioned, Nick, about your friends. David earlier was talking about our film, The Crumbs, that it's based upon this family. You can just Google this, the Bloody Benders, and they lived in the Midwest, like in the 1860s, 70s, somewhere in that area. Mm-hmm. It was husband, wife, and they had 2 kids. And passersby going through the area, they would commonly stop there. and they would have whatever guests they had for the evening sit in front of this, like a really thick sheet, like a canvas sheet, if you will. And either the
And
son
that's Jenny.
or the dad, they would whack them over the head. They would kill them. They had a trap door. They fell into the basement. They weren't dead. They finished them off. They robbed them. And this went on for a number of years until a politician back east, his brother, went missing. So he came to investigate. And so they were getting closer and closer to the Benders. And they fled. The family fled and never to be found again. But yeah, it was based on this family, like David had touched on, that in real life, they're fun people to be around.
Yeah.
But the issues in
Wow.
the Crumbs deal with family
Mm-hmm.
and acceptance, and what would you or what wouldn't you do to protect your family?
Yeah.
Just how far will you go for family? How important is that? And that's the driving theme behind the movie. One of the things that we keep getting told, which I really appreciate, comment, is that at the end of the movie, people told me they liked them. They liked the Crumbs, the family. And if you've seen the movie, this is a murderous, adulterous, bloodthirsty, cannibalistic. These are some pretty hideous people.
Right.
I'm glad
Even-
other people say that, because like even watching the Dahmer thing, there was scenes I could not watch.
No, I'm sure.
But I've always been the kind that I can see both sides, and no, I would never do some of those things, but I can understand both sides. I don't know
Well,
why. I
Well,
should
it's like
not.
this- It's like the Stockton murders we were talking about. And I mentioned that we don't know why he did it. The difference between him and Dahmer is real simple. Dahmer was hungry.
Yeah.
So Jenny's asking.
I understand mental illness. I understand. I don't understand why he did it, but I do understand how it could have happened. And on trial, he said, "Just kill me." He said, "I can't stop. I won't stop. Just kill me." He
Well, he said
understood.
it's been that way since he was a little boy. He was born that way.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, obviously, and we hear this a lot, like in the case with Dahmer, was he felt like he just wasn't accepted enough, especially like because we've heard a lot of times, and he did, he exploited it and basically let everybody knew this is who he was, that he was gay, and at a time when growing up I think it was this late 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s, unfortunately back then our understanding of homosexuality wasn't well accepted as it is now. So it was very, well, you know what I mean, Adrian, but it was a little bit, it was just difficult in those days, and that's what kind of supposedly they say what partially drew him, but there was a number of other things that drew him to commit these acts.
I think early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, I think then it was accepted for women, because
Okay.
even in high school, junior high, they were encouraged to do that.
Oh,
because
okay.
guys thought that was hot
Yeah.
until guys started doing that, and women didn't think that was so hot. So it's like, it was kind of a double standard that ended up backfiring on a lot of people.
Damn, I'm glad I
Right.
grew up in the 60s.
I was going to say, David, realizing that David and I are much older than you guys, I'm glad that I just kind of light years ahead of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Craig,
we
I don't think you're that much older.
I played basketball back in the day, so if anybody on our team decided to give me something more than a bounce pass, it would not have worked out. So yeah, something you said to be old. Wow.
Jenny has actually both of her comments there, and
Yeah.
I can never give a definite answer because I can see both sides of things. So,
I could partially answer that for her because, Adrian, as you know, I've told you guys several times, I had a lot of problems growing up. Not to be clear, for you guys, wasn't for my parents. They raised me well. It was growing up in school that was very difficult, especially when you have autism or a disability. Especially that was not well understood, and it was
No, it
just
wasn't.
it was very tough. I mean, even still to this day, I had aides that were supposed, they're supposed to help you out, but they didn't.
Oh.
But not that kind of aids, Adrian.
I
Teacher aids.
heard that. I was like, what?
No, the teacher aides. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
Yeah, but they're supposed to help you out, but it was completely the opposite. So it was
That's
like
what
to
they're
me,
doing with him.
yeah, it's like they take pleasure in doing that, and it disappoints. Hearing even still happening today, that still upsets me. But to kind of go back with what Jenny was saying is, since I have that too, I think it kind of depends on the person, because lots of people do go through bad childhoods and manage to still succeed in having a successful life later on.
I've known two kinds of people with what Jenny was saying. I know people that continue the cycle and sometimes make it worse. And there's other people that are complete opposite. My ex-husband was complete opposite. It happened to them. They'll be like, I'll be damned. And they will not allow them near people. They are completely so down on somebody who's different that it makes them hate them. I mean, they just go so far the opposite direction that it's counterintuitive.
Wow.
So, I don't know which way is better. I really don't.
Well, how you react to anything and everything in life is the whole situation. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be relationships. It could be the weather. But how you react is determinative of what course of action you will take and what psychological state of mind you'll possess when you do so.
Right.
And that is so important, because that is the motivator that either causes us to do something positive or something negative.
Right.
Oftentimes with characters in a movie, for example, the lines could be really simple, like, I really like green tea, but not with honey. And that could end up being a threat. I'm going to kill you.
Right.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it's that state of mind. And how you react to things, to me, in real life, is what helps us to cope and to accept shit. Like, I can't do anything about the white rhinos in Africa. I can't. But, send them a couple of bucks. That's it. And so I'm not going to worry about that.
Right.
There's nothing for me to worry about there.
Right.
But I can do something about what's affecting me and the people around me on a daily basis. And
if everybody did that, that'd be, a step in the right direction.
Well, most people react emotionally and not rationally. If it feels good, great. I want it. If it feels good temporary, I still want it until it gets bad.
That's true. And I have recently come to accept that I'm an empath. Well, that's not always a great thing at all.
Feeling other people's pain is a very difficult thing to deal with.
And I've noticed with my husband, because he has a traumatic brain injury. He was in a motorcycle accident, left in a ditch for 7 hours.
Oh.
He had a broken neck that he walked around with for a year. He had brain injury. He had, and he started his own company out of it. So he'd done wonderful. But when he starts hurting, and I've noticed this with myself, with other people too, if he's hurting real bad, or, something's happening that I can't control, I can't take it away from him, I don't know how to help him, I get mad instead of, being nurturing or, loving, and I get mad. I'm like, what the hell are you going to do with it? Because, something's got to change. We can't do this. You need to go to the doctor.
Who are you mad at?
I don't even know. I really don't even know.
Is it him? Are you mad at him?
I take it out on him. I do.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, are you mad at him? You are.
Not
You
really.
took too long to answer that. You are. You're
It's
mad at him.
both.
You may not realize the anger, why it's there, but it could very well be because you've been deprived of an access to him in a certain part of his whole being that you've been deprived of because of this accident. And although you love him and you're taking care of him and you'll do anything for him, there reaches a frustration point where I can't help you. What's wrong with you? I don't know what to do. And that anger right there isn't because you are really angry at him, but at the same time, you're angry at what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
And dealing with that. So sort that out. Label that what it is. Tell him that, and you'll get rid of that. And that'll be gone.
It's hard to even figure out what on earth am I really mad at, because he can't fix it. I can't fix it. I don't know what the hell to do.
But you can fix it. You have the ability to choose. You have the ability to make a choice that does not become angry. And now that you have some other information, now you're charged with the responsibility to think about it.
You know, Adrian, if I may, my mom had a brain aneurysm, and she went from how any one of us are right now to something that you would never want to wish on your worst enemy. And we were left with the deficits of a severe stroke. Now, she worked hard to come back from that, but that's the first time in our family that we had ever had to contend with severe brain trauma. Now, we've had cancer, we've had heart attacks, Lou Gehrig's disease, MS, you know, we've had the whole run of different exotic diseases. And my dad would get angry, but he was really frustrated about the situation because he remembered what he married. Now, my parents, rest of their souls, they were married a little over 50 years. For the last 7 years of their life, my dad became my mom's primary care provider. And as an only child, I was the backup. So I was used to the G tube. If that came out of your stomach, boy, you better get that in fast, because otherwise, if you don't, you're talking, it's surprising maybe, but major surgery, because that opening closes up fast. She was on a trachea. They had to do deep suctioning, all these things you never, ever thought you'd be doing to your wife or your mother, but her survival depended upon it. And my dad, because of exhaustion, just all of this, but, you know, he remembered his wife. And now this is something, and again, taking your vows, this is for that or worse part. And it was a ton of work. It's a tough road, but his anger was the whole situation, you know. So I don't know if that's any comfort, but I can certainly relate to more than I necessarily would ever imagine your situation.
Yeah. And I know as soon as I do it, I'm like he can help this, like he wants to be like this. No, but I've already said what it is I'm saying. And it's like, okay, let's back up. Let's try this again.
You know, when I was in my early 20s, I was smoking cigarettes and shit, right? And I was about to get married, and my wife asked me to quit smoking for a wedding present. I said, okay. So every time I wanted a cigarette, I'd drop down and do push-ups until I couldn't do them anymore, till I was like really hard to breathe, right? I mean, I'm struggling these last ones out. Of course, you wouldn't want a cigarette after that. Well,
right.
That's true.
The same thing, getting angry. Drop down, do some push-ups. Just keep doing them till you can't do them anymore. When you're done, you will not be angry.
That's great advice, David.
Yeah, my fat ass can't do one. So that would be.
And you'll be good to go on 2.
Right? Like, wait. Oh, never mind. I don't even know what the hell it was I was saying to you.
You know, somebody wrote a message earlier. I forget now who it was. Just wasn't into horror films, and you know, David and I certainly respect that. But I think it'd be interesting. What genre do people like? Like with our films, David and I will collaborate, but David is certainly our writer, director, and you know, our creative, if you will. Anybody who spends 5 minutes with us realizes who's the creative of the two of us. But I think it'd be interesting. You know, what genres do people like besides horror films?
You know, as far as me, I like more reality based, but I also like it to be a little bit morbid or, you know, understandable. Like, I don't know, like Dahmer, you know, it's like, it's morbid, it's crazy, but why? I want to know the why behind things. So I have something to think about. Why would this happen? Why would that happen? Of course, they don't give you the answer to that, but it's something to think about. I also love, like, my favorite movie in the world was Dirty Dancing. Showing my age a little bit, but that and The Notebook.
Notebook.
That's
Okay.
I mean, that's just like things I'm like, I can watch those 1,000 times and
All right.
and still do it. So I guess
I'm
it's
just-
the love, the romance, and the crazy all in one.
Well,
I was
you
gonna
may
say
like
that-
Love and Quarantine because it's a comedy and that's what it deals with. You know how most romantic comedies start with the boy and the girl apart trying to find each other?
Yep.
Ours starts with them together already, and then they grow apart, and then we bring them back. So it's a whole different approach to it. It's about a interracial married couple who've been around, married like over 20 something years. And they love each other to death, but they've never been forced to be in quarantine with each other. So after about 40 something days, they start looking at each other sideways. Okay. Things start to unravel. But we think it's funny. We think it's timely. We make, again,
Sure.
no statements. We do present a lot of issues that are commented on by the characters, but we draw no conclusions and say you must think like this. I don't like to be didactic. I don't like that.
The one
But yeah, I
movie
think you might like it.
the one I hated was oh crap, now I can't even think of the name of it, but it was Bruce Willis was in it, and there was a little kid, and he was like
Seeing dead people.
yeah, I see dead people. Yeah, that.
Oh, that-
it was
Sixth
the
Sense, yeah.
Sixth Sense.
Yep.
Adrian.
Sense.
Sixth
At the
Sense.
end of it, I'm like, I went through this whole thing thinking all this, and then he's dead. Now I got to
got
finish
Bruce.
the whole film.
I know.
Right
Yeah,
after
that was
Bruce
the
is the
whole
one that
film.
died.
Yeah.
It was funny. He was trying. It was funny though the way they presented it. It had you.
It was, and it was
Yeah.
good.
I
Yeah.
like it. I mean, I still like, and I enjoyed it when I saw it.
I did too. What do you think of Ghosts with Whoopi
Oh, I
Goldberg?
love
And
that film too.
Oh,
That was the first thing that actually made me interested in the paranormal. I'm like, can that really happen? So I started studying on different aspects of that, and then I just kind of went from there.
and
You
was
know,
it needed? Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was gonna say, you know what's funny, and you guys might find this hard to believe. I've only seen just like parts of it. I've never really seen the full film, but I've seen bits and pieces. I just haven't had the chance of.
It's worth watching.
I know it is.
It's
You are
cheesy,
not
but it's
allowed
worth watching.
back on the show until you have seen it. And you tell me what it's
Hey,
about.
cheesy's okay. Cheesy is good. You know, we love cheesy. Remember, we love
Yeah, it is.
Valentine cards and
Yeah,
Christmas
Brad.
gifts and birthday cakes and shit.
You haven't seen what, Brad?
cheesy.
And if I ruined something for you, Brad, yes.
I think he's talking
One
about
for
the
me.
Sixth Sense. I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's okay. One for me. Because, yeah, you already know, dude. Mm-mm. You're in trouble.
I was-
Well, see, there's movies like Poltergeist.
yep.
Okay, I thought that was a well done movie. It was
For its way it
entertaining.
was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
entertaining. It dealt with the subject on a serious level. They had great effects.
It
You know, the little girl was just charming as all get out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how do you deal with that? And the scenes were believable to a degree. It got a little crazy at the end when they started sucking up the whole earth and imploding everything. You know, that got a little strange. But I figured, if I'm believing the rest of this crap, why not that?
Well, I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if you guys know it. That movie actually does have some truth behind it because there actually was. It was based on a real thing. Not exactly
That's
with
what I heard.
televisions. Yeah, because I don't know if you guys have seen the show my show that I do on called Nick Files, and I actually did a presentation on the real case.
Hey,
Oh.
you know what? Let us know when your show is airing, and we'll watch it. And at the same time, you can watch our films.
Every
All
Wednesday.
Sounds like that sounds like a plan. Definitely. Well, you know what? I'll even say this right now because I just brought back the show yesterday. It was because I'm doing my show in seasons.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I was having some technical issues with the first season premiere. It was also the Halloween special. I was having these real bad problems trying to share the screen out. Like, long story short, what happened was because I'm using PowerPoint when I do these, you have to kind of share. Like, you you kind of have to switch screens on your computer in order to have it shown. So when I could share the file, but it wouldn't full screen. Like I could see it on my end, but everybody else could just see the page. So I had to, unfortunately, I was able to, eventually I was able to solve that problem. I was able to do it, but unfortunately I didn't get to stay on for too long because so much time had passed. So I just decided that I was probably just going to, even though I already started, I'm probably just going to start over next Wednesday, which is going to be at 4:30 p.m. CST. But I'll tell you guys this much, because this kind of goes about like what we've been talking about, like why do we love horror? Well, the place that I'm actually focusing on, it's not really a place that has any, ghost stories associated with it, but it is a place that inspired probably a lot of these classic horror films, especially like in the splatter, gory, and even slasher genre. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Grand Guignol Theater before. You guys ever? It was a theater that existed out in Paris, France. It opened in the late 1800s and stayed open until the early 1960s.
It wasn't the freak show theater that they had.
No, this was something else, because they were known for showing these extremely violent, gory shows on stage. Wow. And the effects that they had in those days was incredible, because you would never think, especially during the late 19th, early 20th century, that they would have those kind of effects. And when I mean gory shows, I'm not talking like Shakespeare or anything like this. I'm
talking like blood and guts.
Yeah, I'm talking true horror shows that they had. And what was kind of funny was they actually would have like 6 short plays that they would run. And what they would do is, not all of them would be horror, though. They would play like one of these gory shows. Then the next one, they play a complete comedy. It's like they were playing with people's different emotions. So like one moment you're terrified, next you're laughing, and then vice versa. And especially in those days, since that was something no one's ever seen before, people had fainted. People ran out of the theater.
Oh my gosh.
It's an amazing story that I really thought was very appropriate to share, especially close to Halloween.
What's the name of that again?
It's called the Grand Guignol Theater. So what I'll do is I'll send you. You know what? Because I know we're friends.
Yeah, great. If you send us that, I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, it's.
What's funny though is
Brad.
Way back when all this started coming out, nobody was into, like, they didn't have the internet, so you didn't see like rotten.com and things where you could actually see blood and guts, real blood and guts and gore, people with their head cut off, disemboweled, whatever. It didn't happen. You didn't see things like that. So now I think we're more desensitized to things
big time. That's terrible.
And where you can go and look and see somebody on the street that's shot. And, years ago, a woman who got bad news would faint. And now
that's right.
Now they're looking at it going, okay, and walk on by like it's nothing. I think that part might be a problem in our society, or is it getting us ready for what's going to happen? I don't know.
When you think about it too, I'll just give a little info about, like, for example, this theater I'm talking about. Like, even back then, the effects that they had, not only, unlike us, how we're pretty much desensitized by it, the reality about that theater is, as successful as it was during its operation days, things were going well until, and this is something we all know, then World War II came along and, of course, provided a much more bloodier performance than what the Grand Guignol could produce. Mm-hmm. And it stayed open until the early 1960s. And the last owner and director of that theater actually said, when he closed the door on the theater, he said, before it was like before Auschwitz, for example, everything we saw on that stage, we never thought was ever going to be possible. Now we believe, after what happened, now we believe it could happen. And as decades go by, that's probably why we've become so desensitized by it.
And that's something else. How do you all remember, Nick, you're a baby, but anyway, do you all remember the spontaneous combustion, where people were doing that for a while?
Yes.
We haven't heard about that for years. So what happened to that? What was it? What happened? You know,
It was
you don't
just,
even see it anymore.
there are certain people who unfortunately have a chemical imbalance in their system that will ignite.
Yeah.
Who knows why? I guess it's a phenomenon like you see some people growing teeth out of their forehead or out of their hands. I mean, you see all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know. I just saw something recently where they dug up these skeletons of giants.
Yeah.
I've
And,
heard about that.
and the skulls are like this big.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
like,
big.
what the hell?
That much, but
It's like, would the NFL like these guys?
But it makes me wonder, like, why aren't we hearing about that anymore? Is it something doesn't happen anymore, or is it that there's a lot worse things going on that's just not even publicized anymore?
It could be you might be right about that. There's so much ugly stuff. I got my wife saying your dinner's getting cold. It was gonna be-
David, I also
tell her
sent
to
you
do
the.
like I do, bring it to you, and we have no problem eating on the show.
David, I sent you the name of the theater, then I also send you a Wikipedia page on it. Do you want that too, Craig, so you can look it up for yourself?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to do the same thing then.
Nick Files is awesome. I learn something from it all the time. And one of the things he did was Cheeseman Park in Denver.
Yep.
And I was there right before he did it. And, the things he come up with, I even researched it before I went. I didn't find half of the things that he knew.
Well, and funny enough, Cheeseman Park also kind of serves, believe it or not, as somewhat of an inspiration for the movie Poltergeist too, because it really was that primary location of where what was once a cemetery is now a park, and that they moved some of the graves, but not all the well, in this case, not all the bodies. Some of them were moved, but a lot of them weren't.
Paid by a body part, so they take one finger and put it in a coffin and send it out, and they take another finger, put it in a coffin.
Yep.
And until they got caught, and then now the bodies are still there. I mean, there's bodies there that are.
They're still finding bones every now and then.
They're doing a Halloween thing there right now, and it's like making fun of. Really, that's how I feel. But like finding bones all over that park. You're supposed to go around and find them. To me, that's kind of disrespectful, but I'm on the other end of that, so I just don't go.
Sarah, and it's on the same network. My show starts on Wednesdays. I'm not sure exactly where you're at, but for me, it starts at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So 4:30 my time, and just come back onto this network here on Facebook so you can watch it there.
You know what we would like to do? We'd like to hook you up with some of the other people in these films, the actors. I think you'd enjoy talking with them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Jeannie Young, Jeff Hatch, these other folks. And I don't know if you've talked to any of them at all on anything else, but they make very good guests. They're very lively and interactive, smart people, fun to be around.
We always like different, all kinds of different people to get different perspectives, because then it gives you something to think about instead of your own little, tunnel vision of this is how it is. Well, no.
Oh, sure.
Really not, because when you quit learning, you're done. You're done.
Pretty much.
Amen.
Craig, I sent you the link.
Oh, good. Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
I'd like to check that out. Somebody earlier mentioned how they enjoy our films, which David and I are most appreciative. And we were talking earlier also, David was, about Love and Quarantine. And what was epic about that, on the last day of shooting Demon Fighter, we had just wrapped. We were getting ready to have beer and everything. And David and I were sitting on a couch. And he goes, hey, I have this idea for our next film. It was Love and Quarantine. Now, bear in mind, he wrote, directed Demon Fighter. Okay. That's, if you've seen the film, you know what that's all about. So we're going from that to a comedy. So, there wasn't like this transition piece. So we went from that to that. And to his point, what he was saying earlier, and it's an interesting real life story. We're talking about actors, maybe something about actors. That one film wraps, and already David has an idea for our next film, which of course is now out there.
That's awesome. I always promote anything you got going. David, I hadn't met you. I guess you're not on Facebook near as much as Craig is, or we're not in the same circles or something. But I always make sure anytime Craig's got something, to promote, I always do it. Now I still
for the record and clarification's sake, Dave, for anybody who doesn't know this, and I thought everybody did, David is my business partner. I mean, he and I run and manage together CRA Entertainment. So if there's anybody
no idea.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's awesome either way.
Now you do.
Yeah. You're on Facebook too, right, David?
Pardon me?
You're on Facebook as much as he is, right?
Oh yeah. You can just put my name in; it'll pop up. You can put it on Google. Just put my name in Google and my name.
Don't put my name in Google, though, please.
We might find out some things.
No, it'll be just awkward for all. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we promise not to put in Google, any kind of weird site. General, no.
Well, I've had a great time, and I'm going to be honest. I got to go eat. I am starving to death. Yeah,
we do too.
It's getting late for me over here. Remember something about Craig and I. We're old.
You're not older than I am. I don't want to hear it.
I'm amazed we're still awake.
You're not older than I am. I don't want to hear that. Okay. The only one I have not seen is Love in Quarantine. So that's my next one.
Very cool.
You.
Very cool.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
On your movie actor on Devil Down the Street. I've watched it.
I think she meant Evil Down the Street.
David.
Oh, thank you so much. I played Father Bob. Yes. Good old Father Bob.
Guys,
you can't trust the guy with a name like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Father Bob.
Well, we all know. Never mind. So, guys, thank you very much for being on tonight.
Oh, our pleasure.
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
always great chatting with you guys, and I know we'll definitely have you guys back on real soon.
Well, this format is enjoyable because you have people popping in and asking questions and bringing up points, and that's very cool.
Our people are just amazing. That usually Jeremy's on with us, and he's we don't have any more, but at least he's here. Jenny, she's not even in this country, and I think we're closer to her than a lot of people that are right here.
She lives in Ireland.
We love her, and most of our people that come on, we know them. As far as
well, we thank your guests.
All these people, huh?
All the folks that view yours. If we didn't have those people as an audience, we wouldn't have anything going on.
Amen.
What? We'd have some weekend films that we'd watch until we.
Oh, Craig, looky there. Jeremy goes, Craig on Google. Okay, there's this. There's this.
I know. I saw that. I had asked specifically, stay away from Google.
What's that?
Okay, now I got to Google this. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay,
thank you again.
Yeah, Jeremy said too. We'll have you guys back on. Definitely.
We'll have your dinner. Craig, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys for having
us. Look forward to seeing you again.
And also, Craig and David, I'll send you guys the links when I do my show live, so you guys check out the Granking Y'all, because I think you guys are going to really like it. It's going to be really interesting.
Awesome.
And also, just one final thing, just before we get off, because I meant to do this last week, but I'm doing this one last time to as a reminder for some, we got the Para-Unity Convention coming up this upcoming Saturday, October 22nd. Originally, I'll be honest, I actually first thought I was not going to be able to make it, but fortunately I am. So I'll be there. We got a lot of great guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So just wanted to give a quick shout out before we get off here.
Take pictures for me since y'all want to have it across the country from me.
Don't look at me. This is. I talked to Jeremy about this. Over 60
I will.
vendors. Yeah.
Now
All right.
remember, have a
Good
safe
night.
weekend, and
You
everybody
too.
get out there and vote.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely. But we're
If you're
going
not
to.
voting, you have no reason to bitch. So
That's
None.
right. Exactly
None.
right.
All right.
good
Good
night.
night,
Thank
everybody.
you guys for having us.
You're
Thank
very
you all.
welcome.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye all.
Take
Thank
care.
You too.